In today's video, we are going to talk about a captivating story, a story which has a powerful and potent spiritual message. If you are someone who is not resonating with the concepts of spirituality, or you are someone who is heavily filled with atheistic tendencies, I will humbly request you to walk out of this video because this video is going to be heavily spiritual. Hello ladies and gentlemen, and a very warm welcome to Evolving Consciousness. In today's video, we are going to talk about a story which is mentioned in the 8th chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam. For folks who have never heard of Srimad Bhagavatam is one of the Mahapuranas of the Vaishnava lineage. It is said that if you consider Srimad Bhagavad Gita as the undergraduation of spirituality, Srimad Bhagavatam can be considered as the post-graduation of spirituality. And the amusing and interesting part is that this book or this consortium does not have any philosophical thought processes. In fact, to the contrary, it is filled with exciting and mesmerizing stories of different devotees and the exchanges of Lord Krishna with these devotees. And every time you read those pastimes, those stories, you can derive fresh meaning out of them, and you can derive deep spiritual understanding out of each of the stories. I have always believed personally that stories are very powerful influences. If you look around you, if you look the way you were influenced in life, it is heavily based on the stories people sold to you. If you observe why Bollywood is so successful and why the entertainment industry is so successful, you'll realize that people like to watch stories. People like to engage in imagination. People like to engage in stories of different connotations. But the tragedy is the message which most of these stories are conveying, these messages are not something which are beneficial to most of us. But we still relish them because they provide a certain amount of entertainment value, and we love entertainment. But what if I told you that Srimad Bhagavatam, which is a consortium of different stories and pastimes of the Lord Vishnu, of Lord Krishna, when is exchanged with different devotees, and what are the things which we can learn from? It is an entertainment in itself. Today's story is going to talk about the 8th chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam. Now, this is a story popularly known as the story of Gajendra, the elephant king. Now, some of you who belong to the Vaishnava lineage would know about the Gajendra Moksha Stotram. Now, Gajendra Moksha Stotram is something everyone knows in the Brahmanic circles. But if you are born in a Brahmanic family, but still you probably don't have the environment where these topics are talked about, you probably would be unaware of it. And today's video is going to talk about this story and what are the underlying or encrypted messages or encrypted morals which you and me can learn from is going to be the focus of this video. Now, to begin with, Gajendra is the elephant king. He was the majestic elephant king who was surrounded with all kinds of material opulences you and me can think of. And one fine day, it so happens that Gajendra, along with his crowd, along with his peers, is traveling from one spot to another, and in the process, in his road to movement, he encounters that they are in a midst of a desert-like situation where everyone starts feeling thirsty. After a certain distance, they see one of them sights a pond. Upon looking at that, the entire crew of elephants, the entire population of elephants rush towards that pond so that they can satiate their thirst, they can quench their thirst, and also bathe in it because it was a very hot day that day. So once they were doing that, once they quenched their thirst and they finished bathing and sort of regulating their body temperature, they still felt that they should never leave this place. They still wanted to have a happy time there. They still wanted to completely engross themselves in that enjoyment. After some time, all the others of that elephant group moves out of the pond, and they are just waiting for King Gajendra to also accompany them so that they can progress in their journey. But King Gajendra feels that I don't feel like coming out. I just want to keep enjoying this pond, this coldness of pond, and probably I don't want to get up. After some time, Gajendra, the majestic king, shouts out. And everyone is baffled as to why is the king shouting out. And it happens that a crocodile just caught one of the feet of Gajendra. Now Gajendra is absolutely baffled, and since Gajendra was a mighty king, he does everything in his power to break free from the clutches of that crocodile. But all his efforts are put to vain. His peers, his elephant peers, also try to help him out from the clutches of the crocodile, but they too miserably fail. After some time, after this agony of pain, Gajendra was suffering immeasurably, and the clutch of the way the crocodile had grabbed the feet of the elephant, that was very painstaking. After some time, Gajendra does everything at his disposal, but still he is not able to free himself from the clutches of that crocodile. So suddenly there is some prayer which comes out of his subconscious into his conscious mind, and this prayer is all about a call, a desperate, helpless call to Lord Vishnu. Now in our Hindu culture, in our Sanatan Dharma, Lord Vishnu is called the eternal protector. He is considered the Lord of protection. So Gajendra calls out for help for Lord Vishnu. Now this Gajendra Stotra in itself is a lot of praises of the Lord and his call for help. Now when Lord Vishnu witnesses this from this abode of Vaikuntha, he sees the desperate call of his devotee. And because Lord Vishnu is a very compassionate divine being, compassion is his natural demeanor, he rushes to go and save his ardent devotee's cry for help. And later on, when Lord Vishnu arrives, he just makes sure he cuts the crocodile into pieces and he saves Gajendra. Now, this might seem like a very simplistic story for someone hearing for the very first time, but let me tell you, this story is layered in so many subtle and deep layers. Now, what does Gajendra symbolize and represent? Gajendra is essentially symbolic of the ego every one of us gets into their head. If we have achieved a certain level in our material life, be it in terms of achieving great degrees from reputed institutions, or if we have our own property, or if we have a lot of fame, or if we are in a certain level in our career where we feel that we have achieved a lot in life, there comes a tendency where we start feeling that we are great. And there also comes a tendency when we feel we are all pervading. There's a syndrome which is talked about in psychological circles called the RAM syndrome, which says the world revolves around me. I am the center point of this universe. Everything should happen for me. This is the mindset which some of us succumb to, especially when we achieve a lot of things. Gajendra is symbolic of these tendencies of human beings. And once we are enjoying, and this is another manifestation, subtle layer here, that what does the pond represent? The pond essentially represents all the different kinds of sense gratifications which give us a great feeling. They are very pleasurable to our body mind. All the kinds of things which you can think of, which we so much indulge in. The indulgence of Gajendra was so much to an extent that he said that I am just going to be here. I am going to just forget about the responsibilities of my kingdom and I am only going to settle here. Gajendra forgot that what his worldly duties were. He was so intoxicated by the soothing effect of the pond that we completely forget our dharma. Now, most of us have a twisted understanding of dharma, right? We don't even understand what duties mean. Duty is not something you look for an exchange for. If you do something, I do something. That is not duty. That is an exchange, that's a business transaction. A duty is something which is coming from the self, which has a selfless undercurrent. That's duty. And when Gajendra forgot his duty towards the kingdom and he was intoxicated in sense gratification, in indulgences, that's when the crocodile grabs, gives a tight hold on one of the legs of Gajendra. Now, what does the crocodile symbolize? The crocodile symbolizes what would be the state of any human being who gets into intoxication, or someone who wants to deny the worldly duties because he wants to enjoy life. So many of us are enjoyment addicts. And if you look at the people who suffer the most from a psychological standpoint, you can trace back a history of a tendency towards enjoying or towards getting intoxicated. Now, one thing you'll realize is the reason why someone intoxicates himself is because of avidya. Avidya is essentially ignorance. Ignorance of the nature of consciousness. They feel that if they engage in these things, they will be relieved of that suffering. But they don't realize that instead of relieving from suffering, they are creating another layer of suffering for them. And which sooner or later is going to make them a victim of that crocodile. That crocodile is symbolic of Maya. This crocodile is symbolic of ignorance. The crocodile is symbolic of all the perplexities, of all the sufferings we human beings would have to endure in case we choose to be in avidya or ignorance. Oftentimes, when someone develops an interest for spirituality or has a keen instinctiveness or inquisitiveness towards spirituality, people around him or his peer group, because they have never got the taste or the higher taste, they never cultivated the higher taste, they probably would ask him, are you going through a situation in life? Is there something wrong in your life? Now, it's like saying that why do you have to exercise if you are already fit? If a person is already thin and has a good amount of physical fitness, someone would say, why should you even exercise? You're already fit. What these people fail to realize is that there is something called maintenance. To maintain that physical fitness, one needs to exercise. You cannot say that I'm fit and I will be fit without any exercise. Precaution is better than cure. When we talk about spirituality, we are essentially developing mental resilience and mental strength. And some of us might say that I don't need spirituality to feel strength or to feel mental clarity or toughness. Now, some people probably haven't been through the worst situations of life and they feel like Gajendra. Gajendra also felt that he can solve his problem by his own will. He is sort of symbolic of the majestic ego which we all are victims of. We feel we can solve all our problems just by our own will. Gajendra also did that. Gajendra also thought that. But there came a point in his life, came a point in that particular situation where he found himself completely helpless. And that's when his ego was shattered. There's a beautiful quote which says, a bad day for the ego is a great day for the soul. A bad day for the ego is a great day for the soul. Hence, it's very imperative and an indispensable need to recognize this ignorance, because awareness precedes change. You cannot change anything unless you are not even aware of it. Gajendra, prior to that incident, prior to that episode, thought of himself as a mighty king, a king who could do anything, a king who could solve all his problems. But understand this, when there is a certain amount of surrender, when there is a certain amount of awareness of consciousness, that there are certain dimensions of life which I probably know nothing about. That is the sign of a true learner. Because if there is someone out there who thinks that he knows everything about the universe, there is no one far away from reality than this person. Even the greatest yogis, even the greatest people are titans in the industry, always have a learning mindset. No matter how many books you read, no matter how many content, how much of content you consume, there is always scope for growth, there is always scope for learning. And once you have this open mindset, once you have a mindset of surrender, that is when Lord Vishnu, which symbolizes knowledge, which symbolizes a divine layer of consciousness, which helps us, which sort of eradicates the ignorance of Maya. There's a quote, infamous quote by Lord Buddha, which says, desire is the main cause of suffering. Now, because of the desire of Gajendra to sort of keep enjoying that soothing pond, the crocodile attacked him. He forgot his duties towards his kingdom. He was so much intoxicated with that soothing effect that there came a time when the crocodile had to cut down his ego. And once he did that, once Gajendra completely became egoless, that's when Lord Vishnu appears. Now this is a very deep message which the story is trying to tell us, that only when you are less in ego, that you are open to knowledge. If your cup is already full, no amount of tea or coffee, if it's being filled in that cup, will ever come into that cup. It will just overflow. So whenever you are approaching any content, approach it with an open mind. If you already have preconceived notions and judgments about certain things, you will never learn, because you are living in your own bubble. And if someone is living in his own bubble, then the concept of growth is going to be alien to him. Hope this message, with the infamous story of Gajendra, gave a lot of insights to you. And ignorance is in so many subtle levels. The whole focus of spirituality is to call out Lord Vishnu, who is symbolic of our own consciousness. The name of this channel, Evolving Consciousness, is all about building a relationship with our lost consciousness. The consciousness which is so powerful that if someone is absolutely conscious, he'll automatically stop doing things which are not serving his body, mind and soul. Can you try to be angry when you're fully conscious? If you're fully aware, it is incapable. You are incapable of becoming angry. Just think of what I just said. It's a little deep point to contemplate or introspect. If you are absolutely aware and absolutely conscious, you are incapable of feeling fear. You are incapable of feeling anger. It is only when we lose our consciousness that we fall prey to intoxication or to any kind of vices. Hope my today's video was eye-opening in several levels, and the story of Gajendra brought a lot of sense and perspective to most of you. Thank you so much for your time on my video, and if you really enjoyed the content, don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you really wish to receive these kind of uplifting content. Thank you so much, and I'll meet you in the next video. Bye.